Infertile, divorced, failure. The words glowed on a 10-foot screen at my sister's wedding reception. 200 guests laughed. My father smiled and said, "Just a joke, sweetheart." My mother swirled her wine like she was watching dinner theater, and my sister, the bride, leaned into her microphone and said, "Don't laugh too hard, she might actually cry." I didn't cry. I picked up my phone, typed one word, "Begin." And the room went so silent you could hear the ice cracking in my mother's glass. What happened next didn't just ruin the party. It dismantled 16 years of lies, and the family reputation built on top of them. Before I go on, please take a moment to like and subscribe, but only if you genuinely connect with this story. And drop a comment. Where are you watching from, and what time is it there? My name is Thea. I'm 34 years old. Now, let me take you back to 4 weeks before the wedding, the night I got the phone call that started everything. It's 11 p.m. on a Thursday. I'm at my desk in Richmond, finishing elevation drawings for a historic courthouse renovation. Coffee's cold, back aches. Normal Thursday. My phone lights up. Unknown number. Virginia area code, but not Richmond. Somewhere smaller. Somewhere I used to know. I answer. "Ms. Linden?" A woman's voice. Careful. Professional. "My name is Dolores Vargas. I'm a nurse at Shenandoah Hills Care Center. Your grandmother asked me to call you." My hand tightens around the phone. Grandma Ruth. 84 years old. The only person in my family who ever made me feel like I belonged in it. "She's scheduled for hip replacement surgery in 3 weeks, Dee says. Her health is stable, but at her age, there are risks. She's been asking for you." I close my eyes. 2 years since I last saw her. I'd snuck into the facility on a Tuesday afternoon when I knew my father wouldn't be there. We sat together for 40 minutes. She held my hand and told me about her garden. Then a staff member mentioned my visit to my father's office, and Harold Linden made sure the front desk had instructions. "Thea is not on the approved visitor list." "There's something else," Dee says. Her voice drops. "Your father told Ruth that you can visit, but only if you attend your sister's wedding first. It's in 3 weeks." Of course, everything with Harold comes with conditions. "And Ms. Linden? Your grandmother wanted me to tell you one more thing." A pause. "She said they're planning something, at the reception, something about you. She wanted you to be ready." I look up from my phone. On the wall across from my desk hangs a framed certificate. Virginia Emerging Architect of the Year. 5 years of silence. And the first voice I hear from that town isn't my mother's. It's a nurse's. To tell you what happened next, I need to go back further. 16 years further. I'm 18, senior year, sitting at the kitchen table in my parents' house in Millbrook, Virginia, a town where everybody knows your last name and what your father's worth. Harold Linden slides a document across the table. A land transfer form. The property is a 2-acre parcel on the edge of town. Rolling grass, a creek, 1 old oak tree. My grandmother Ruth gave it to me on my 16th birthday, signed it over legally, said, "This is yours, Thea, no matter what." "Sign it," my father says. "I need this parcel for the Oakdale project." "Grandma gave it to me, and I'm telling you to give it back." I look at my mother. Vivian Linden sits at the end of the table, flipping through a home decor magazine. She doesn't look up, doesn't say a word. The sound of pages turning fills the silence. I don't sign. 3 days later, my father cancels my college tuition fund. The account he'd been setting aside since I was born. Gone. Redirected. I find out when the registrar's office sends a letter. 1 week after that, Harold stands in the foyer with his arms crossed. "You walk out that door, you don't come back." My little sister Paige, 11 years old, watches from the top of the stairs. She doesn't say anything either, she just watches. I leave with 1 duffel bag and $43 in my checking account. That night, Harold tells the neighbors. "She dropped out, ran off with some boy, broke her mother's heart." None of it was true. But in Millbrook, my father's word was the only one that mattered. Here's what happened after the door closed behind me. I slept in my car for 2 weeks, worked the counter at a gas station outside Charlottesville, got my GED at 19 while waitressing double shifts at a diner that smelled like bacon grease and bleach, applied to community college, transferred to Virginia Commonwealth University on a need-based scholarship, studied architecture because I liked the idea of building things that lasted, things that couldn't be taken away with a signature. I graduated at 23. Nobody came to the ceremony. I wore my cap and gown, walked across the stage, and shook the dean's hand. Then I went home to my studio apartment and ate takeout on the floor. At 24, I married Drew Halpern, a man I'd met through Harold's old business network before I was cast out. He was 12 years older, charming in public, suffocating in private. He managed my bank account, screened my phone calls, and told me which friends I was allowed to keep. A smaller, quieter version of my father. I got out at 27. At 28, a doctor told me I couldn't have children. A medical fact. I processed it alone, in a clinic waiting room with fluorescent lights and a 2-year-old magazine. Somehow, Paige found out. Drew had stayed in touch with my family after the divorce. He'd always liked having leverage. Now I'm 34, senior architect at Mercer and Hollis in Richmond. I design restorations of historic buildings, courthouses, libraries, theaters. My professional name is T. Mercer Linden. I kept Drew's name hyphenated because the architecture world already knew it. I didn't hide my life from my family to be dramatic. I just stopped performing for people who'd already decided I was nothing. Nobody in Millbrook knows any of this. The morning after Dee's call, I sit in my office with the door closed. Through the glass wall, I can see my colleague Marcus Cole at his desk, headphones on, running cable management simulations for a museum project. Marcus is 36, ex-Army IT, and the most unflappable person I've ever met. He's also the closest thing I have to family. I call Dee back. How bad is the surgery risk? At 84, with her bone density, the surgeon said there's a real chance of complications. She's strong, but she's not young. Dee pauses. She cries your name some nights. She keeps your letters under her pillow. I press my knuckles against my forehead. My grandmother, hiding my letters under her pillow like contraband. Because in that family, loving me is something you have to do in secret. I have 2 options. Go to the wedding, endure whatever Paige and my parents have planned, see Grandma Ruth, or stay in Richmond, stay safe, and maybe never see her again. I knock on Marcus's glass wall. He pulls off his headphones. I need a favor. He listens to everything. The wedding, the slideshow warning, the nursing home ultimatum. When I'm done, he leans back and says, "If you go with a plan, not with hope." I know. And you're going. She's 84, Marcus. She might not make it through surgery. He nods, doesn't argue. Then we make sure you're not walking in blind. That night, I book a hotel in Millbrook for the wedding weekend. I pull out a dress I bought myself, navy blue, well cut, professional. Not the one my mother will try to hand me. Marcus said, "Go with a plan," so I started making one. And for the first time in 16 years, I was glad my family underestimated me. 3 weeks before the wedding. Harold requires a family dinner. His condition before he'll clear my name at the nursing home front desk. So I drive 2 hours to Millbrook. The house hasn't changed. White columns, manicured lawn, American flag by the door. The performance of respectability, down to the last trimmed hedge. Nobody hugs me at the door. Vivian looks me over. "You look thin. Are you eating?" I'm not thin. I run 3 miles every morning and I eat plenty. But this is how my mother operates. Concern as a weapon, wrapped in a question nobody expects you to answer honestly. Harold sits at the head of the table, same chair, same posture. "So, what are you doing with yourself these days?" "I work at a design firm." "Answering phones, I assume?" I pick up my fork. Don't correct him. Paige arrives late, trailing perfume and self-importance. She flashes a 4-carat engagement ring under the dining room light. Then she pulls me aside in the hallway. I need you to wear something understated at the wedding. Garrett's family is very particular. She tilts her head. You still alone? No one? I say nothing. She smiles. Some people just aren't meant for that, I guess. Before I leave, Vivian hands me a garment bag. Inside, a pale beige dress, shapeless, 2 sizes too large. This will be perfect for you. At the door, Harold puts his hand on my shoulder. The Whitmores are old money. They judge. One wrong move and this deal dies. Don't embarrass us. I drive back toward the highway, and then the name hits me. Whitmore. I know that name. Not from Paige's ring, not from Harold's business talk. I know it from a project file sitting in my office in Richmond. Back at my desk Monday morning, I pull up the client database. Whitmore Heritage Foundation. There it is. Our firm has been contracted for the Millbrook Heritage Restoration Project, converting a Civil War-era textile mill into a community arts center. The foundation is funding the entire thing. The client contact, Eleanor Whitmore, chair of the foundation, Garrett Whitmore's mother. I've been the lead architect on this project for 6 months. We've exchanged dozens of emails, 3 video calls. She knows my work, my design philosophy, my project timeline. She knows T. Mercer Linden. She does not know my face. We've never met in person. I sit with this for a long time. I don't plan to use it. I'm not Harold. I don't weaponize connections, but I file it away. If everything falls apart in Millbrook, I am not a stranger to the most powerful family in the room. That evening, Marcus does his own research. He calls me at 9. The reception venue, Millbrook Country Club. They've hired a local AV company to run a projector and sound system. Slideshow, toasts, the usual. And guess what? The AV company is short-staffed. They just posted looking for a freelance tech for the event. Marcus. I already applied. Got a call back in 20 minutes. You don't have to do this. Thea, you're walking into a room where your family has already loaded a weapon. I'm just making sure you have access to the safety switch. By Wednesday, Marcus is confirmed as a freelance AV technician for the Whitmore Linden wedding reception. He'll have direct access to the projector system, the USB inputs, and the soundboard. I prepare a short presentation. Not an attack, just the truth. Photos, degrees, awards, my actual life. Title slide, The Real Thea Linden. I save it to a USB drive and hand it to Marcus on Thursday. You're not going to war, Thea, he says. You're going to a wedding. But if they fire the first shot, you'll be ready to fire the last. 1 week before the wedding. Harold clears my name at the front desk. 30 minutes, supervised. Vivian will accompany me. Shenandoah Hills smells like hand sanitizer and boiled vegetables. Vivian parks herself in a chair in the hallway, already texting. She doesn't come in. Grandma Ruth is smaller than I remember. Her white hair is thinner, her hands shake. But her eyes, those sharp, knowing eyes, haven't changed. She grabs my hand the second I sit down. Let me look at you. She studies my face. You're healthy, you're strong, I can tell. I'm good, Grandma. Don't let them break you again. Her grip tightens. You're the strongest one in this family. You always were. She reaches under her pillow and pulls out a small envelope. Dee helped her hide it from the staff Harold pays to keep tabs. Inside, a photocopy of a property deed. The 2-acre parcel. My name, clear as day. That land is yours, Ruth says. It always was. Your father never got it transferred. He's been furious about it ever since. I stare at the document. For 16 years, I assumed Harold had found some legal way around my refusal, some technicality, some forged signature. He hadn't. The land was still mine. He tells people it's part of Linden Properties, Ruth whispers, but it's not. He never had the right. A knock on the door. Vivian's voice clipped. Time's up! I fold the envelope into my jacket pocket. I lean down and kiss Ruth's forehead. "That's my girl," she murmurs. I walk out past my mother, who doesn't ask how Ruth is doing. She checks her lipstick in her phone screen and says, "Let's go, I have a fitting." I leave the nursing home with two things: a grandmother's blessing and proof that my father had been lying about more than just me. 6 days before the wedding, my apartment in Richmond. Marcus sits on my couch with his laptop open. On the screen, the slideshow I've built. Slide 1. A photo of me in my cap and gown at graduation. Alone. Smiling anyway. Caption: "No one came to my graduation, I went anyway." Slide 2. My architecture license, framed on my office wall. Licensed architect, Commonwealth of Virginia. Slide 3. Me on a job site, hard hat on, blueprints in hand. Senior architect, Mercer and Hollis. Slide 4. The award plaque. Virginia Emerging Architect of the Year. Slide 5. A simple text screen. White letters on black. "You called me a dropout. I have a master's degree. You called me broke. I own my home. You called me a failure. I design buildings for a living." Marcus scrolls through, nods. Clean, factual, no insults, just the record. That's the point. I don't want to attack them. I want the truth to be louder than their joke. He closes the laptop. "You sure you don't want to add the part about your dad's Oakdale problem? The land?" "No, I'm not him. I don't turn information into ammunition." "Then what's the trigger?" I show him. A text message, pre-typed on my phone. One word: begin. When I send it, Marcus switches the USB on the projector from Paige's slideshow to mine. He's already tested the system during setup at the venue. The swap takes 3 seconds. "And if their slideshow turns out to be harmless?" he asks. "Then I never send it. We leave. I visit Ruth. We drive back to Richmond." Marcus looks at me for a long time. "You know they won't keep it harmless." "I know. But I need to give them the chance, one last chance to be decent. Because when this is over, I want to be sure, completely sure, that I didn't fire first. 5 days before the wedding. Harold calls. He doesn't say hello. He says, "Rules. You sit at table 14, back corner. You don't speak to the Whitmores unless spoken to. You don't mention your divorce, your condition, or anything about your personal life. If anyone asks what you do, you say you work reception at a small firm. Clear? And after the wedding, I can see Grandma Ruth?" "We'll see. Depends on your behavior." The line goes dead. That evening, my phone buzzes. Paige has added me to a group chat. Vivian, Harold, Paige, and now me. The first message is a preview of the slideshow. I watch the images load. The Linden family. And then there's Thea. Old photos of me, stretched and filtered to look unflattering. Cartoon stickers slapped across them. And then the labels, one per slide, bold and centered. High school dropout, divorced, broke, alone, infertile. Paige types beneath the preview. "OMG, this is going to be hilarious. Don't worry, Thea, it's all in good fun." Vivian responds, "Keep it tasteful, Paige." She doesn't say take it down. She doesn't say this is wrong. She says keep it tasteful. As if there's a tasteful way to broadcast your daughter's medical history to 200 strangers. Harold doesn't respond at all. I screenshot every message, send them to Marcus without comment. Then I open my laptop. My own presentation is still up. 5 clean, factual slides. I add one more, a 6th. A quote, white text on black. "The measure of a family is not how they celebrate their best. It's how they treat their most vulnerable." I stare at the word infertile on my phone screen for a long time. Then I close the group chat. I don't respond. There's nothing left to say to people who think your body is a punchline. The wedding day arrives under a clear October sky. Millbrook Community Church, white clapboard, steeple catching the morning sun. The parking lot is full of BMWs and Land Rovers. This is the social event of the season. I wear my navy dress, not the beige sack my mother picked out. I'd left it hanging in the hotel closet without a second thought. Inside the church, 200 guests fill the pews. Millbrook's business community, country club members, town council acquaintances, and in the front row, the Whitmores. Eleanor in a deep green jacket, silver hair pinned back, posture like a former dancer. Her husband, Richard, beside her. Distinguished. Reserved. I sit in the last pew. No one greets me. No one offers to scoot over. Harold works the center aisle like a campaign trail. Handshakes, shoulder claps. So proud of my little girl. He doesn't mean me. Vivian floats near the altar in a custom ivory dress, murmuring to a friend. Both my daughters are here today, even the difficult one. She laughs lightly. The friend glances toward the back. I pretend not to notice. An older woman I don't recognize sits 2 rows ahead of me. White hair, floral dress, reading glasses on a chain. She looks at me once, then back toward the altar. I don't think anything of it. The ceremony begins. Garrett stands at the altar looking genuinely happy. He speaks his vows with a tremor in his voice. Paige speaks hers louder, longer, mostly about herself. Across the church I spot Marcus near the side entrance, wearing a black polo with the AV company's logo. He adjusts a microphone cable on the altar. Our eyes meet for half a second. He gives the smallest nod. My father shakes hands like a politician. My mother smiles like a hostess. And I sit in the last row like a ghost they'd invited on purpose. The reception is at Millbrook Country Club. Crystal chandeliers, round tables draped in white linen, a 10 by 6 foot projection screen behind the head table, the smell of gardenias and money. Table 14 is where I'm seated, back corner, next to the kitchen door. Every time a server pushes through, a blast of clattering dishes and shouted orders hits my back. My table mates are distant cousins who've clearly been told nothing about me, and an elderly couple who spend the entire appetizer course discussing their recent cruise. A woman across the table leans in. "And what do you do, dear?" "I'm an architect." "Oh, how nice." She turns to the man beside her and starts talking about kitchen renovations. On stage, Paige takes the microphone for the first toast. She thanks her parents. She thanks the Whitmores. She thanks her college friends, her wedding planner, her florist. Then she looks toward the back of the room, toward me. "And my sister Thea, who managed to show up today." A pause. "That's something, right?" Scattered laughter. The polite kind. The kind where people aren't sure if they're supposed to laugh, so they do anyway. Harold clinks glasses at the head table with Richard Whitmore. They're leaning close, talking numbers. Eleanor sits beside them, polite but measured. She hasn't committed to anything yet. I can tell by the way she holds her wine glass, close, untouched, like a prop. My mother appears at my elbow. Her perfume arrives before she does. "Don't drink too much," she whispers. "Don't talk about yourself, and for God's sake, smile." I smile. Not because she told me to, because in 20 minutes, the slideshow is scheduled to play, and I know exactly what's on it. Right now, I'm sitting at table 14 with a plate of food I can't eat and a family that wishes I'd stayed invisible. But I want to ask you something specific. Have you ever been seated at the back, literally or figuratively, by people who were supposed to love you? Not the kind of exclusion you question, the kind you're told is normal. Tell me in the comments. Because what happens next at this reception, with that screen and those 200 guests, is the reason I'm telling you this story today. Stay with me. The lights dim. Paige's maid of honor takes the microphone with a grin that tells me she's been rehearsing this all week. "And now, a special presentation from the Linden family." The screen flickers to life. Soft piano music plays through the speakers. Baby photos of Paige, gap-toothed smile, ballet recitals, prom. Paige and Harold fishing on a lake. Paige blowing out birthday candles. The Lindens on vacation. Vivian in a sun hat. Harold with his arm around Paige, the ocean behind them. I'm not in a single photo. The room coos. "Ah!" Eleanor Whitmore smiles politely. Richard pats his son's shoulder. Then come the couple photos. Paige and Garrett at a vineyard, at a football game, at Christmas dinner with the Whitmores. Each one earns a round of soft applause. The music shifts, playful. A drum roll sound effect. The screen reads, "And now, let's meet the rest of the family." Paige grins from the head table. She catches my eye across the room and wiggles her fingers in a little wave. Vivian leans back in her chair with the satisfied look of someone who's been waiting for the main course. My stomach drops, not from fear, from certainty, because I know what comes next. Under the table, my phone is already in my hand. The message to Marcus is typed and ready. One word: begin. My thumb hovers over the send button. I make myself a promise. If the next slide is harmless, if it's an old photo with a gentle caption, if it's a real toast, if there's even a scrap of decency in what they've prepared, I won't press it. I'll take the joke. I'll go home. I'll let them have their night. I give them one last chance to be decent. The screen changes. My face fills the frame. An old photo from high school, grainy, unflattering. Across the bottom, bold white letters, high school dropout checkmark. Nervous laughter ripples through the room. A few people glance at me. I keep my face still. Next slide. A cracked heart emoji beside my name. Divorced. The laughter grows. Louder now. The kind that feeds on itself. Next. An animated cartoon of an empty wallet flapping open. Broke. Someone at table 6 snorts into their champagne. Next. A photo of a single place setting. One chair, one plate. Alone. Paige is laughing from the head table. Vivian sips her wine, watching the room like she's scoring the performance. Then the final slide loads. A clip art baby with a red X stamped across it. Infertile. The word fills the 10-foot screen. For a moment, the room goes quiet. The shocked kind. The kind where people realize they've been laughing at something they shouldn't have. Then a few more laughs break through. Uncomfortable, herd following. Paige leans into the microphone. "Don't laugh too hard. She might actually cry." Vivian swirls her wine. Half smile, eyes on me. Harold catches my gaze from the head table. "Just a joke, sweetheart. Lighten up." Eleanor Whitmore is not laughing. I see it clearly from across the room. She sets her glass down on the table with a quiet click. Her jaw tightens. She looks at Harold, then at the screen, then at me. I feel the blood rush into my face. My hands shake. My vision narrows to one word on that screen. Infertile. My medical history. My private grief. Projected for 200 strangers to laugh at. That was the line. And they didn't just cross it. They broadcast it in 10-foot letters. I look around the room. 200 faces. Some laughing. Some looking away. Some pretending to check their phones because they don't know where to put their eyes. Paige is beaming. This is her favorite part of her own wedding. Not the vows, not the first dance, but this. Watching me sit in the wreckage of my own humiliation. Vivian raises her glass slightly. A silent toast to her own cruelty. Harold has already turned back to Richard Whitmore, resuming their conversation as if nothing happened. As if putting infertile on a screen for 200 people is the social equivalent of a knock-knock joke. I look down at my phone. The message is still there. One word. Begin. I think about Ruth, about her hands shaking when she gave me that envelope, about the way she said, "Don't let them break you again." I'm not breaking. My thumb presses send. 3 seconds pass. The slideshow freezes. The screen goes black. Paige frowns. Tech issues?" She waves toward the back of the room. "Can someone fix that?" Behind the AV booth, Marcus pulls Paige's USB from the projector and inserts mine. His hands are steady. He's done harder things under worse pressure. The screen lights up again. White text on a dark background. Clean. Simple. The real Thea Linden. The room goes silent. Not the polite kind. The kind where every head turns and every conversation stops at once. Harold stands up. What is this? Turn it off. He looks toward the AV booth. Marcus doesn't move. The system remote has been locked. The only way to kill it is to pull the power cable in the utility closet, and Marcus locked that door 20 minutes ago. For the first time in 16 years, my father can't silence me. The first slide fills the screen. A photo of me at graduation, cap and gown, standing alone in front of the university seal, diploma in hand. The caption reads, "No one came to my graduation. I went anyway." Murmurs. A woman at table 3 puts her hand over her mouth. Next slide. My architecture license, framed and mounted. Licensed architect, Commonwealth of Virginia. The murmurs get louder. Next. Me on a construction site, hard hat, steel-toed boots, blueprints rolled under my arm. Behind me, the skeleton of a renovated courthouse. Senior architect, Mercer and Hollis. A man near the front turns in his chair to look at me, then another, then a whole table. Next slide. A framed plaque. Virginia Emerging Architect of the Year. Eleanor Whitmore's hand freezes halfway to her glass. The final content slide appears, white text on black. You called me a dropout. I have a master's degree. You called me broke. I own my home. You called me a failure. I design buildings for a living. I stand up from table 14. I don't walk to the stage. I don't grab a microphone. I just stand where I am, in the back corner, next to the kitchen door, and look toward the front of the room. Harold's face is a shade I've never seen, somewhere between fury and fear. This is ridiculous. She probably faked all of this. Paige's smile is gone. Turn it off. This is my wedding. Vivian sits frozen, her wine glass suspended in midair, her face drained of color. The last slide appears. The quote I added 5 days ago. The measure of a family is not how they celebrate their best, it's how they treat their most vulnerable. I don't say a word. I don't need to. The screen is doing all the talking. Harold moves fast. He steps out from behind the head table, both hands raised, smile locked in place. The same smile he uses at town council meetings and Rotary dinners. Folks, I apologize for the interruption. My older daughter has always had a flair for drama. He chuckles. It lands flat. This is clearly a misunderstanding. He walks toward me. The crowd parts slightly, the way people do when they sense a collision coming. His shoes click on the hardwood. When he reaches table 14, he lowers his voice, but not enough. The tables nearby can hear every word. Sit down, right now, or you will never see your grandmother again. I look at him. My father, 62 years old, builder of houses, destroyer of daughters, and I say in the same quiet voice, "You've used Grandma Ruth as a leash my whole life. That ends tonight." His jaw clenches. I will call security. From the head table, a chair scrapes back. Garrett Whitmore stands up. His face is tight. Wait. He looks at Harold, then at me. Let her speak. Paige grabs his arm. Garrett! He pulls free. Something isn't right here, Paige. I want to hear this. The room shifts. I can feel it. The energy tilting, the way a crowd recalibrates when someone unexpected breaks rank. Vivian rises from her seat, her voice cracking for the first time. Thea, please. You're humiliating yourself. I look at my mother. The woman who flipped magazine pages while my father threw me out. The woman who handed me a shapeless dress and told me to blend into the walls. No, Mother. For the first time, I'm not. At the front table, Eleanor Whitmore hasn't moved. But her eyes have. They're locked on the screen, on the words, Mercer and Hollis. And something in her expression changes. I step away from table 14. I don't rush. I don't raise my voice. I walk to the center of the room, between the round tables and the flickering candles, and I stand where everyone can see me. 200 faces, champagne going flat. The piano music has stopped. I didn't drop out. My voice is steady, conversational. like I'm explaining a project timeline at a Monday meeting. My father pulled my college tuition when I was 17 because I wouldn't sign over land my grandmother gave me. Harold opens his mouth. I keep going. I didn't choose to be alone. I was told to leave and never come back. I was 18 years old with $43 in a duffel bag. Vivian's hand trembles on her wine glass. My divorce? I married a man my family chose. He was controlling. I got out. That's not failure, that's survival. A woman at table 5 pulls her napkin to her face. Her husband puts his arm around her. And infertile? I look directly at Paige. That's a medical condition, not a punchline. And you put it on a screen for 200 people at your own wedding. Paige's lower lip quivers. She opens her mouth, but nothing comes out. I look at Vivian. You helped design those slides, and you gave me a dress meant to make me invisible. I look at Harold. You told me to sit in the back, stay quiet, and not embarrass you. I let the pause stretch. The only embarrassment in this room is what you just did to your own daughter. The silence is total. A server holding a tray of desserts stops in the kitchen doorway, motionless. Then I hear the sound of a chair pushing back. Slow, deliberate. Eleanor Whitmore stands, and she walks straight toward me. Eleanor Whitmore moves through the room like she owns it. And in a way, she does. Half the people here tonight owe her foundation a grant, a favor, or a seat on a board. She stops 3 feet from me. Her eyes move from my face to the screen behind us, where senior architect Mercer and Hollis is still glowing. T. Mercer Linden. She says it like she's confirming something she already suspected. You're the architect on the Millbrook Heritage Project. Yes, ma'am. Eleanor turns, slowly, the way a woman turns when she wants a room to see exactly where she's looking. She faces Harold. Mr. Linden. Her voice is steady and surgical. The woman you just humiliated in front of my family is the architect I hired to restore the most important building in this town. The color drains from Harold's face in real time. I watch it happen, the confident flush replaced by something gray and exposed. I didn't know. You didn't know because you didn't bother to know your own daughter. A ripple runs through the room. Whispered words, heads turning. Someone at table 8 pulls out a phone. Paige jumps up from the head table, voice pitched high. Babe, this is insane. She's making this all up. She reaches for Garrett's hand. He steps back. His hand stays at his side. Vivian tries next. She approaches Eleanor with her hostess smile at full power. Eleanor, please, this is a family matter. Eleanor doesn't break eye contact with Harold. You made it a public matter, Mrs. Linden, when you put it on a 10-foot screen. The room exhales. I can hear it. 200 people breathing out at once, the collective release of held tension, the recalculation happening at every table. Nobody is looking at the bride anymore. Harold tries to recover. He spent 62 years recovering. It's what he does. Builds back the smile, adjusts the handshake, resets the narrative. Eleanor, let's not overreact. He puts on his country club voice. Warm, reasonable, man to man, except she's not a man, and she's not buying it. It was a silly joke. You know how families are. I know how my family is, Eleanor says. We don't put our children's medical records on a screen for entertainment. She turns to Garrett. Son, I think we need to have a conversation, privately, tonight. Garrett nods. He's been watching Paige since the reveal. His expression isn't anger. It's something worse. It's reevaluation. He looks at his bride and says, You told me Thea was unstable. You said she had issues, that she was jealous of you. Paige's voice cracks. She is jealous. She's a licensed architect with awards, Paige. And you put infertile on a screen at our wedding. Harold steps toward Eleanor, dropping his voice to a register that probably works in boardrooms. Let's talk about the Oakdale partnership. This has nothing to do with... Eleanor raises her hand. One gesture. That's all it takes. The Oakdale partnership? She repeats it as if tasting something spoiled. Harold, after what I just witnessed, there is no Oakdale partnership. Harold's mouth opens. Nothing comes out. His hand, still raised in a half gesture, drops to his side. Vivian breaks, not gracefully, a sharp, strangled sound that might be a sob. This can't be happening. She says it to no one. She says it to the tablecloth. I stand in the center of the room. I don't smile. I don't nod. I don't celebrate. I just stand. For the first time in my life, standing is enough. Harold just lost the Oakdale deal. Paige just lost control of her own reception. And my mother is crying. Not for me. Never for me. For the image. I'm standing in the middle of this room, and for the first time, no one is telling me to sit down. Now I need to know, if this were your family, would you have pressed begin? Or would you have walked away? Drop a 1 for begin or a 2 for walk away in the comments. And stay with me, because what happens after this moment is something I never planned for. Paige is a fast learner. She grew up watching our mother pivot from cruelty to composure in under 5 seconds, and now she deploys the same skill. Her face crumbles, not gradually, all at once, like a switch. Tears spill down her cheeks. She rushes to the center of the room, hands pressed to her chest. This is my day! Her voice breaks perfectly. She always does this. She has always been jealous of me. She turns to the crowd, mascara streaking. I invited her because I wanted her here. The slideshow was supposed to be funny. She's twisting everything. A few guests shift uncomfortably. There it is. That hesitation that predators rely on. The moment where onlookers wonder, maybe the crying woman is the real victim. Paige spins toward Garrett. You're choosing her? On our wedding day? Vivian rushes to Paige's side, wrapping an arm around her. My baby. They're attacking my baby. She looks at Eleanor with wet eyes. Can't you see what's happening? For a second, just a second, I feel the room tilt back toward them. Tears are powerful. A bride crying at her own wedding is powerful. I see doubt flash across a few faces. Then Eleanor speaks. She doesn't raise her voice. She simply takes out her phone, glances at the screen still glowing behind us. Funny? She reads from the slides. Infertile. Failure. Alone. She looks at Paige. Which part was the joke, dear? The doubt evaporates. The room resettles, like a jury that considered a different verdict and decided against it. Paige's tears are still falling, but they've lost their power. She's ruining my wedding! I don't shout. I don't match her volume. I just say, I didn't make the slideshow, Paige. You did. Eleanor isn't finished. She turns back to Harold, and this time, her voice carries the flat precision of a woman who manages a multi-million-dollar foundation. The Oakdale Project. You told us the land was fully consolidated under Linden Properties. Every parcel accounted for. Harold stiffens. It is. I wasn't planning this. I didn't rehearse it. But I hear the words Oakdale and fully consolidated, and something clicks into place. The envelope in my pocket, the deed Ruth pressed into my hands 1 week ago. Actually, I say, it's not. The room turns to me. I reach into my jacket and pull out the folded photocopy. The center parcel, the one my grandmother gave me when I was 16, is still in my name. I have the deed right here. Harold's face goes rigid. Not the public rigidity of composure, the private kind. The kind I remember from the kitchen table when I was 18, and he slid that document across to me. Eleanor looks at the paper, then at Harold. You were going to build on land that belongs to your estranged daughter, without her consent? Without telling us? She was supposed to sign it over years ago. I was 18. You tried to force me. I said no. You threw me out. I fold the deed and put it back in my pocket. And you've been telling people the land was yours ever since. Richard Whitmore stands for the first time. He buttons his jacket, the kind of small, deliberate motion men make when they're about to leave permanently. Eleanor meets Harold's eyes one final time. Mr. Linden, I think we're done here. Harold turns to me. His voice drops to something raw and small. You ungrateful. Garrett steps forward. Enough. His voice is sharp and final. That's enough, Mr. Linden. Something in Vivian fractures. She's been holding it together. The smile, the posture, the hostess mask, for the better part of 40 years. But the Whitmores are walking away. The deal is dead. And the room is looking at her family the way she's spent her entire life, making sure they never would. She turns on me. The polish is gone. The magazine-flipping, wine-swirling composure, gone. You think you're better than us now? Her voice is shaking. You think your little slides change anything? You were nothing. You had nothing when you left this house. You're right, I say. I had nothing. Because you made sure of that. I did what was best for this family. You did what was best for the image. There's a difference. She looks around the room, searching for an ally. Her eyes land on familiar faces, country club friends, book club members, women she's had lunch with for 20 years. She tries the social smile. This is so embarrassing. Family drama, you know how it is. Nobody smiles back. Then a voice rises from the back. The older woman from the church, the one with reading glasses on a chain. She stands slowly, gripping the edge of her table. I've known Ruth Linden for 50 years. Her voice is thin but carries through the silent room. She would be ashamed of what you three did tonight. She picks up her clutch purse and walks toward the exit. Her heels click against the floor, measured and final. Another couple stands. Then a man at table 9. No speeches, no drama. They just leave. Vivian sinks into the nearest chair. Her hand finds her wine glass, but she doesn't lift it. For the first time, she looks exactly her age. Maybe older. The room is emptying, and no one is pretending this was a joke anymore. The room is thinner now. Empty chairs scattered among the remaining guests. The gardenias are wilting under the heat of the chandeliers. Paige sits alone at the head table. Garrett stands with his mother near the side door. Harold hasn't moved from the center of the room, hands at his sides, staring at the floor. I look at what's left. My family. This room. 16 years of silence, ending here, between dessert plates and half-empty champagne flutes. I don't go to the microphone. I don't need it. My voice carries just fine in a room this quiet. I didn't come here to ruin your wedding, Paige. I look at my sister. I came because Grandma Ruth asked me to, because even after everything, she still believes this family can be better. Paige's head drops. I don't hate any of you. I look at Harold, at Vivian. But I am done being your punchline. I'm done earning the right to exist in this family. Harold's eyes finally lift to mine. They're red. I've never seen that before. If you want me in your life, it starts with respect. Not conditions, not performances. Respect. I pick up my clutch from table 14. I straighten my navy dress, the one I bought myself. And if you can't do that, then this is goodbye. I walk toward the exit. Past Harold, he doesn't look up. Past Vivian, she's staring at the tablecloth. Past Paige, she turns her face away. At the door, a voice stops me. Ms. Linden? I turn. Eleanor Whitmore is standing near the coat check. Her green jacket is already on. Her car keys are in her hand. Monday morning. My office. We have a project to finish. I nod. She nods back. And I walk out into the October night. The parking lot is half empty. Most of the early leavers are already gone. I sit in my car with the engine off, hands on the steering wheel, staring at the country club entrance. A tap on the window. Marcus, still in his AV company polo, holding 2 gas station coffees. I unlock the door. He slides into the passenger seat and hands me one. You okay? No. I wrap both hands around the cup. But I'm better than I've been in years. We sit in silence for a while. Through the windshield, I can see figures trickling out of the club. Couples walking fast. A man loosening his tie. Nobody's laughing. My phone buzzes. Garrett. I'm sorry for what my wife's family did. Paige and I need to talk. I don't know where this goes. Another buzz. D. Your grandmother saw everything. Someone's niece was live streaming the reception to a family group chat. Ruth watched the whole thing. She's laughing. She says, "That's my girl." I close my eyes. Ruth, in her nursing home bed, watching her granddaughter stand up in a room full of people who tried to make her invisible. Laughing. Proud. One more. Eleanor Whitmore. I've informed my team about the Oakdale land situation. Harold will not be building on your property. We'll find another partner for future development. I type back to Eleanor. Thank you. To Dee. Tell her I love her. To Garrett. I'm sorry too, for all of it. I don't respond to Harold, or Vivian, or Paige. There's nothing to say that wasn't said in that room. Marcus starts the car. Where to? Hotel, then home tomorrow. He pulls out of the parking lot. In the rearview mirror, the country club shrinks. Millbrook is a small town, and small towns do what they do best. They talk. The week after the wedding, Millbrook rearranges itself. I hear this secondhand, from Dee mostly, and from Marcus, who has a talent for monitoring small-town Facebook groups. Vivian is removed from the Millbrook Autumn Gala Planning Committee. No formal announcement, just a quiet email from Eleanor's assistant. We're restructuring the committee this year. Thank you for your past contributions. Vivian calls 3 board members. None of them pick up. Harold loses 2 minor business partners within the first 10 days. A property developer in Staunton pulls out of a joint venture, citing alignment concerns. A local contractor who'd been loyal for 15 years sends a polite letter about pursuing other opportunities. Linden Properties doesn't collapse. Harold's too entrenched for that. But the cracks are visible, and in a town where reputation is currency, cracks spend fast. Paige and Garrett. Garrett asks for couples counseling. Paige refuses. She calls it an insult. By the second week, Garrett packs a suitcase and moves into his parents' guest house. They're not divorced, but they're not together. The book club that Vivian has hosted every third Thursday for 11 years quietly relocates to someone else's living room. No one tells her. I don't follow any of this in real time. I'm in Richmond, back at my desk, back at my drafting table. I have a courthouse renovation to finalize and a heritage project to present. Marcus reads me a post from the Millbrook Community Facebook page while we're eating lunch. Someone shared a photo of the slideshow screen with the caption, "This happened at the Whitmore-Linden wedding. Shame on the Lindens." 87 reactions, 42 comments. You didn't do this to them, Marcus says, closing his laptop. I know. They did this to themselves. You just stopped covering for it. I eat my sandwich. It tastes better than anything served at table 14, 3 weeks after the wedding. A Tuesday evening. I'm reviewing blueprints for the Millbrook Heritage Project. Eleanor's foundation wants the presentation ready by month's end. My phone rings. Harold. I almost don't answer. Then I pick up. He doesn't start with an apology. He starts with an offer. The land. Name your price. Let's end this like adults. The land isn't for sale. It was Grandma Ruth's gift to me. It stays mine. You're destroying this family over a piece of dirt? You destroyed this family over a piece of dirt 16 years ago, when you chose a parcel over your daughter. Silence. Long. The kind that lives on the phone line like static. I did what I thought was right, he says finally. So did I. And here we are. Another pause. Then his voice changes. Softer, almost human. Your grandmother is no longer your bargaining chip. I keep my voice level. I've contacted Shenandoah Hills directly. I'm listed as her secondary emergency contact. I can visit whenever I want. You don't get to use her against me anymore. I hear him breathe, in and out, the sound of a man realizing that the last lever he had has been removed. You always were the stubborn one, he says. I learned from the best. I wait for more. An apology. A confession. A crack in the wall he spent 62 years building. Instead, he hangs up. I set the phone down on my desk. My hands aren't shaking. My heart rate is normal. There was a time when a phone call from Harold Linden would have sent me spiraling for days, replaying every word, wondering if I'd been too harsh, too ungrateful, too much. That time is over. I go back to my blueprints. 2 weeks after Harold's call. A Sunday morning. I'm making coffee when my phone lights up with Paige's name. I let it ring 3 times before I answer. Old habit. Bracing. But the voice on the other end doesn't sound like Paige. Not the Paige I know. The one who wiggles her fingers and puts infertile on a screen. This voice is flat, tired, stripped of performance. Garrett moved out. Mom won't stop crying. Dad won't talk to anyone. I sit down at my kitchen table. I don't interrupt. The slideshow was wrong. I know that. She stops, starts again. I don't know why I did it. I've been doing things like that my whole life and nobody ever told me to stop. Because they were too busy doing it to me. A shaky exhale. Yeah. Silence. I don't know who I am without being the favorite, she says. And it's the most honest thing my sister has ever spoken. I could be cruel here. I could list every time she twisted the knife, every holiday she was celebrated while I was erased, every lie she inherited from our parents and polished into her own weapon. But cruelty is their language, not mine. Then maybe it's time you figured that out, I say. Without me as the punching bag. Can we start over? I don't know, but we can start with you talking to someone, a professional, not mom, not dad, someone who'll actually tell you the truth. A long pause. Okay. Neither of us says I love you. Neither of us says goodbye. We just sit on the phone for another few seconds, breathing, and then the line goes quiet. I set the phone down. Look out the window. The morning light is pale gold on the trees outside my apartment. No tears, just tired, but lighter than before. The following Saturday, I drive to Shenandoah Hills. No phone call to Harold, no 30-minute limit, no Vivian in the hallway checking her lipstick. I just go. Dee meets me at the front desk with a smile that says she's been waiting for this visit. She's in the sunroom today, strong morning. She watched your slideshow video again at breakfast. Again? 5th time. She made me replay the part where Eleanor said, "You didn't bother to know your own daughter." She clapped. The sunroom is warm and bright. Potted ferns line the windowsills. Grandma Ruth sits in a wheelchair by the glass, a crocheted blanket across her lap, her white hair catching the sun. She sees me and her whole face opens up. Not a polite smile, not a hostess smile. The real thing, the kind that starts in the eyes and fills every line and crease. She grabs my hand the second I sit down. "You stood up," she says. "In that room full of people, you stood up." "You taught me how, Grandma." She squeezes my fingers. "Now, tell me about your buildings. Tell me about your life. We have time." So I tell her, all of it. The GED, the diner shifts, college, the first project I designed, a small library in a town nobody's heard of, the courthouses, the awards, the apartment with the drafting table by the window. She listens to every word, asks questions, laughs at the parts where I slept in my car and ate cereal for dinner 3 nights a week. Nobody knocks on the door. Nobody says time's up. Outside the window, an oak tree spreads its branches across the lawn, old, knotted, rooted deep, like the one on the land Ruth gave me when I turned 16. Some things can't be signed away. 3 months later. I'm at my desk in Richmond, Monday morning, coffee in hand. On the wall, a new framed print of the Millbrook Heritage Project rendering, the textile mill as it will look after restoration. Red brick, arched windows, a courtyard open to the sky. Eleanor's foundation approved the final design last week. Next month, I present it to the Millbrook Town Council. I'll stand in front of the same people who watched me get humiliated at a wedding and show them what I'm actually building. The land, my 2 acres, stays untouched. I haven't decided what to do with it yet. Sometimes I think about a small house, something simple. A porch where Ruth could sit and watch the creek. Maybe someday. Ruth's surgery went well. Hip replacement, no complications. She's in physical therapy now, walking with a frame, complaining about the food. I visit every 2 weeks. We talk about her garden, my projects, the weather, and nothing about Harold. It's peaceful. Harold hasn't called again. Vivian sent a single text message. I'm sorry. 2 words, no follow-up. I read it. I didn't respond. I'm not ready. I may never be. That's allowed. Paige started therapy. Garrett moved back in a month ago, on the condition they continue counseling. Dee told me Paige visited Ruth at the nursing home last week, first time in over a year. She brought flowers. Ruth said Paige looked different, quieter. I don't know what that means yet, but it's something. Marcus and I are working on a new project together, a historic schoolhouse in the Shenandoah Valley. Small budget, big heart, the kind of work that reminds me why I chose this career. I eat breakfast alone most mornings. Coffee, toast, the news. But alone isn't the same as lonely. I learned the difference when I stopped sitting at table 14. This morning I stand in front of my bedroom mirror. Navy blazer, white blouse, hair pulled back. On my dresser, the invitation to the Millbrook Town Council presentation. My name printed in clean black type. Thea Linden, AIA, Senior Architect. Not T. Mercer Linden. Not Drew's name. Not a hyphenation for professional convenience. Just mine. I pick up the invitation and run my thumb across the letters. 6 months ago, I sat in the last row of a church and watched my father shake hands like he owned the world. 4 months ago, I stood in a banquet hall while my body was turned into a joke for 200 people. Today, I'm driving back to Millbrook, but I'm not going to the old house. I'm not going to beg for a seat at anyone's table. I'm going to the textile mill, the one I'm rebuilding from the foundation up. Brick by brick, beam by beam, the way I rebuilt everything else. They called me infertile, divorced, failure, dropout, broke, alone. I am some of those things, and none of them define me. You don't need your family's permission to have a life worth living. You just need to stop asking for it. I take my keys. I walk out the door. The October sun is sharp and clean, the way it gets in Virginia when the leaves are turning and the air smells like wood smoke in cold mornings. I drive west, toward Millbrook, toward the building I'm restoring for a town that doesn't know my whole story yet, but will. The road stretches ahead, the mountains rise blue in the distance, and I'm not going home. I'm going to work. That's my story. And if you've made it to the end, I think some part of it belongs to you too. So here's what I want to ask. Don't just tell me how you felt. Tell me what you're going to do differently after hearing this. Set one boundary this week. Just one. If you chose begin earlier, hit subscribe. I'll be sharing another story soon that will make you rethink everything you thought you knew about family loyalty. Check the description for more stories like this one. Thank you for being here. It means more than you know.